Chapter 9. Face Off. Jesse's tennis shoes squeaked against the smooth floor when he startled. This was harder than he'd thought. Mom had tried to warn him, but he hadn't listened. Instead, he'd bullied his way into this meeting. Now it was time to say what he'd practiced. He cleared his throat, and chickened out when his gaze went to the ever-reddening face of Tony. Before Jesse could try again, Tom stepped forward. "This is how this is going to go," he told the inmates. "These people have something to say, and you are going to listen. If you can manage to have a civil conversation, you are welcome to speak. If anything untoward comes from your mouth, you have water only for 3 days." "That isn't legal," Calvin muttered. "Neither was anything you did." Tom turned to Jesse and Sky, indicating it was their turn. Sky shook her head. "I'll have enough to say at the trial. We are here for our son." Jesse trembled and tightened his muscles to stop. He took one step forward. Sky moved her hand to his shoulder, and he was glad of the comfort. He pointed to Calvin. "You killed my dad. Your dad was no good. I did you a favor, kid. It doesn't matter what he was. You didn't have the right to take him away from me. And in the end, he died for me and Sky." Calvin kept his gaze on Jesse. "Yeah, that surprised me too. I don't forgive you. Whatever, kid. Do you think that makes any difference to me? I don't care. I just wanted you to know." Calvin moved back from the bars as Jesse turned to Tony, his small hands tightening into fists. "You hurt me," he said to the big man. "Hurt me bad. But me and Sky, we beat you, all of you. We're free, and you're locked up waitin' to die. Nothing you did changed my life for the worse. I'll have a great life, and you'll have nothing." Tony grit his teeth but said nothing. That didn't surprise Jesse. The man hadn't said more than a few words the whole time he'd tried to kill him on the side of that mountain. Jesse rolled his shoulders. He felt lighter, freer now that he'd said what he needed to. He shot a grateful look to Sky. Her green eyes warmed as she smiled back.
Happy this was over, Sky turned toward the door. Her gaze betrayed her when she shot one look back toward Calvin. He smiled and sauntered back toward the front of the cell. "Looking good there, Sky." She shivered as he slowly looked her up and down, all his thoughts written plainly on his face. Behind her, Dylan growled and put a hand to her waist, encouraging her to walk faster. She wanted to, internally screaming for her feet to move, but she was frozen. She needed to go out that door now. Anything else that happened here wouldn't be any good. The door buzzed and clicked open. Tom waved them out. Dylan pushed Jesse toward Wade, who herded him toward the door. Calvin's face seemed to move in slow motion, though his words did not. His mouth opened. "Yeah, real good. Too bad we didn't have much time together. Oh, the things I wanted to do too." Dylan released her, and a rush of air brushed across her back. Before Calvin had finished his sentence, Dylan was choking the life from him. The room erupted. Wade ran to his brother's side. Tom tried to get Jesse out of the room but gave up and rushed toward the cell. Wade and Tom pulled at Dylan, but he resisted them and continued to tighten his grip around Calvin's neck. At that moment, all of Sky's fear left. This evil man truly could not hurt her. She moved to stand beside Dylan and put a hand on his tightly muscled arm. "Love, not now." He loosened his grip just a little. Calvin hauled in a noisy breath and tried to pull Dylan's hands away but didn't have a prayer of doing so. "You," Sky said pointing at him, "are a pig." A tiny tool of a man who no doubt was nothing before all this. "When this trial is over, and they bury you deep in the cold, dark earth, I will make sure there is nothing left of you to remember." Sky turned on her heel and strode past the door Jesse held open and out of the room. The boy followed her, awe covering his face. "All right, Mom." Sky made it halfway across the station before she fell to her knees. She could hear Jesse yelling at her, but the ringing in her ears muffled the sound. "Mom? Mom?" Jesse raised his voice. "Dad." Dylan was there in an instant, picking her up and assuring her everything was fine. It was done now. All over. She wanted to believe him, she really did, but even he knew the words were false. Sky closed her eyes on the swirling room and snuggled her face into his shoulder. There was still the trial to go through.